Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, where Jaryd and I are having a chat today, answering some of your questions that came through. This is such a weird time, and I'm so glad that we are all able to stay a little bit connected in these kinds of ways. I know it's a bit strange, but yeah, this is a good opportunity to do something like that. I hope everyone is safe and well out there. And yeah, Jaryd, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, it's good to actually be able to connect with human beings, even if it's on Zoom or on the internet. But no, I'm good. Things are pretty normal. My glasses are broken, which is also pretty normal. Um, yeah, but it's pretty crazy times, as you said, in the world right now.
Your glass is being broken every time I see you. It's just like becoming a trend, I think.
I don't know if you see, but they're sticky taped up.
Every
There's sticky
time.
tape on the back too. Yeah,
What have you done?
notorious. They just cracked here. Like, they just do it sometimes. Yeah, hard to
All right.
explain.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, all us athletes are probably experiencing this in similar ways, but also quite different. I think if we're speaking honestly, having it postponed was obviously, yeah, shattering. Like, it was something that we didn't want to happen. It took a while probably to come to terms with that. You know, we could sense the finish line. It was nearly there. And then to be pushed back a year, it requires a complete reset of psychological kind of processes. And for me personally, I've only known this sport and only known running with the thought that Tokyo would be where I might be able to win a gold medal. So even though that is still possible, realizing it might not happen this year, that was quite difficult. But that being said, I'm 20 years old, so another year for me personally won't hurt me. So I've just got to keep that in mind and know that a gold medal could be defined by how we approach this period in time. So that's how I'm approaching it, but I suppose it's all a bit different. So how about you?
Yeah, similar. I think for both of us, we both, I think, knew we were informed going into it. I think, 5 months out of a games, you know how strong you're feeling, especially for the longer distance stuff. You know how fit you're feeling as well. You've done all that base work, and so I think, both of us had pretty reasonable performances at Worlds, and Tokyo has kind of been. It was always such a short turnaround from Dubai for World Champs for us to Tokyo, and so I think even in that World Champs planning block, Tokyo is still the big goal, even within that planning, which isn't totally normal, I think, when you're planning for those big benchmark events. So I think the idea of Tokyo has kind of been intertwined with everything, I think, more intricately than, normally something this would be. So yeah, it is strange for it to just kind of get totally flipped on its head, 5 months out. But having said that, I personally was so relieved with the announcement of the postponement, purely because there was so much going on in the world, and I think sport has this ability to transcend so many different things. A pandemic that's affecting the world on such a global scale isn't one of those things, you know what I mean? And I think, time and place, and I think sport has such a beautiful impact on the world, and it wouldn't have this time around. So I think, mid 2021, when the world's in a better place, we can all come together for that then, and I think it'll be perfect.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there was a couple of weeks before it was officially announced, where I was starting to, I was really, really hoping that it would happen and get postponed. My fear early on was that it would be cancelled altogether. So I'm happy that the people in the powerful positions were able to pull together and ensure that we do hopefully get a chance next year. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely a positive.
Yeah, I was definitely worried about a cancellation instead of a postponement too. How have you been adapting training wise at the moment? I'm assuming you don't train with a squad at the moment, so what does that look like?
Yeah, my coach lives in Canberra and I live in Melbourne, so I train via correspondence most of the time. So training for me doesn't look too different. I'm using a treadmill a lot more. There's a lot of people out on the paths, and for me, when there's a lot of people, that creates a lot of obstacles. So I don't want to hurt anyone, don't want to run into anyone. So a lot of treadmill, a lot of running the paths that I know well, but otherwise the actual training is quite the same. Tim Logan, my guide runner and best mate, he's working some pretty big hours at the moment, refurbing hospitals in case this whole pandemic in Australia gets like even worse. So I haven't seen a lot of him, I think only twice in the last month. So that's probably the biggest change to my training, is I am pretty dependent on him. So yeah, but what about you? Are you
Yeah.
training with anyone at the moment?
A little bit. The advice kind of we've been given is we're not really allowed to see our coaches unless it's a safety kind of reason. So my setup at the moment, I have a set of rollers on my patio and I have a ski erg on my patio as well. So for those sessions, I'm training on my own. But because of the road, we train on like the physical road in the bike path. So there is the safety component of that. So Louise, my coach, will come out and we'll meet for those sessions. The biggest adjustment for me has been switching from a full-on gym program to basically like just 5 days a week of volume band work, which has been, I think, a big change. The gym was a huge like component of what I was doing. So that's been the biggest change. But otherwise, yeah, I think I'm thankful that I'm in an individual outdoor sport where you can kind of keep doing your thing, and I'm sure you're the same.
It will help some and it will not help others. I think it's not a very national thing. It's more of a personal context. Like I know my training partner, Michael Roger, he would have much preferred to have it this year. He knows what form he is in as well. So, and he's probably at a different end of his career to me. But that being said, he also knows that if he keeps going for 12 months the way he is now, he'll be able to tick the box. But I'm sure there's different personal situations that will dictate whether it's a good or bad thing. But that being said, we're living with this reality now. This is what's happening, and there's not a huge, well, there's no use really in dwelling on that. So you've just got to Seb, I'm sorry, I'm just starstruck at the moment.
Distracted.
Yeah, but no, it's just it's a thing that we've just got to move forward, and that'll be our best chance of performing next year.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely an individual kind of person to person like basis here. But I think right now we also have such a young athletics team in Australia, which like right now our team that we took with us to World is the youngest team that I've ever seen, and it's cool seeing so much talent coming up. And I feel like the 12-month delay could be a really good thing for us overall. I mean, I think for you and I individually and people like Michael, like, yeah, I think games going ahead this year, we all knew we were in pretty good form. And so it's about maintaining that for 12 months is its own challenge. But we have such a young team. And if we look at like what a difference that 12 months can make, I know for me personally, when I was 16, 17, the jump every year was huge. And I know for you, it was the same, like your results kind of going from Rio, I want to say you were 7th in your 15 and your 5,000. And you jumped to a bronze in 2017, right? That was a less than a 12-month turnaround, and that's huge. That's final positioning to podium positioning. Then again, a huge jump from that to what you did at Worlds this year, like a couple world records and a double gold medalism. That's an enormous jump. And so I think we have so many athletes right now who are in a position like Rhiannon Clark. She went from a silver medal at Com Games to double bronze at a World Championships, and she's only 17. So I think those kinds of jumps we might see a little bit of in our team, which is very exciting. And games coming around every 4 years, the timing of it is so important. And so I think it actually might benefit quite a big part of our the younger part of our team, which I think is exciting. So not all bad.
No, I think that's one thing to definitely focus on. Like as I said, I'm 20 years old and I'm already starting to feel like at least a middle part of the team in terms of age, and that's just because we have so much great, promising talent, as we saw in Dubai. And instead of having 6 months, half a year to develop that, they're going to have 18 months, which, as you said, will probably result in some pretty incredible performances. It's not necessary. I can always run from point A to point B, but one of the things that Tim helps me in training with the most is that the fatigue and the effort and the visual strain and mental stress that it would take to do that normally by myself, he makes that a lot less by just being with me, his presence. So that's why I'm doing a lot of running on the treadmill and stuff like that, just to try and limit any of that. But yeah, it can get boring. So he is someone that I wish I could have around a lot more. And, even if he wasn't working big hours, we probably wouldn't be able to see each other. So this whole pandemic for visually impaired runners and visually impaired athletes, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic in different countries where you're not allowed to see anyone outside of your house at all. You can't even leave your house. Yeah, guide runner and athlete dynamics would be pretty interesting. Yeah, and I know some of my competitors overseas rely on their guides even more than me. So it's
How
a
does that
pretty difficult
change?
thing.
Yeah, how does that change, say, the quality of your session? Like if you're able to just focus on your, I guess, your physical output and what you can focus on what you need to focus on, and Tim or whoever can focus on the rest. Does that change like quality of sessions, or is it, are you able to get some serious work done kind of
It's
otherwise?
definitely, yeah, no, it's definitely the quality. Like this is probably best exemplified in races where I've probably taken a whole minute off in my 5,000 meters just by being able to focus on the race rather than, trying to work out what's going on as well as running to my, physical capacity. So yeah, the guide running is definitely an important part of my racing and my ability to perform. And in training, instead of that being a one-off race, it's like 3 times a week as a session. And if you obviously train better and faster, you'll get faster. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, no, definitely that makes sense. Um, that's all super interesting to me. I love that. I love like the like I feel like we all do the same. Like you and I do very similar events. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
we're endurance athletes, but like the intricacies of what you do is so different to mine, and I just love all of that.
So I have a question. About the
Yeah, right.
intricacies of your sport. I've always loved the fact that you guys can back up in races all the time because I love racing and I really like that idea, especially the marathon. Uh, you know, how fatiguing is it for you? Because I know I've read Kurt's book and it sounds brutal. But yeah, I've always wanted to have that explained kind of thing, and also stuff like drafting because there's a lot of different tactical stuff that's unique to your event, I think.
Yeah, okay. So the backing up of events is, it's a couple of things. The One of the big ones is there's less impact on joints in wheelchair racing than there is to running. So I know that's a big fatigue point that takes longer to recover from than like your overall muscle soreness. So we don't have to worry about that kind of impact quite as much, which is a big one that helps with recovery. But that also kind of translates to the training that we do. We don't do as much work at 80%. Like a lot of my sessions were not, it's basically every rep is at like maximal effort, and so we train at like a very very high intensity in wheelchair racing, and that might mean less kilometers, less hours in the chair, or like training than say a runner would, but the intensity is incredibly high. And so I think training at that level of intensity, we are able to back it up because of that. I think that's the best answer I can give. I still don't know if it's the best I do.
Yeah.
Whenever I try and back up a marathon, I turn up to the second one and I'm like, what am I doing here?
Oh, it seems so
And
crazy.
and in terms of the drafting, yeah, that's a huge tactical component. To anyone watching that isn't familiar with wheelchair racing, in the longer events, 800 and up, any event that you switch out of lanes, we draft kind of like in cycling. So if you're behind, the person at the front's taking the most wind, and that's the most work, and then it kind of obviously gets a bit easier the further back you go, and that's a huge part of wheelchair racing. And it's kind of, there's a lot of we do it quite politely, as in everyone will work out the front. And I've seen athletes who have chosen not to work and then try to sprint around, and they will have a phenomenal race one time, and then everyone will know that that is now the sort of athlete they are. And I've seen people's races and for years at a time get sabotaged because of things like that. So I think on marathon circuit, for a lot of it, we're all just trying to go fast, and so everyone will kind of be making that race as quick as possible for everyone else around us. And then when it comes to a point where you want to make a tactical move, whether it's close to the end, whether it's you just hit a hill, which is your strong point, or coming out of a turn, then that's when you make your move. And so I think we're kind of all work very well together for that reason. Yes, the drafting is a huge part of wheelchair
Yeah.
racing.
Wait, I have another question. One more. Sorry. I've got the opportunity to ask you this. When I watch you race, sometimes I get so nervous because and just anyone, even when I was watching Kurt a couple of years ago, if an athlete is boxed in wheelchair racing on the track, it seems incredibly hard to get out. So how do you remain composed when you're in that position?
It is hard. And I think I got boxed in every single race at World Champs, and that was a big thing
Yes,
that
I
athletes
was so nervous.
when we did our debrief, Louise is basically like, can you just stop doing that? It's very easy to get boxed in. And it's also a tactical move. Like if I know someone has a good sprint on them that's better than mine, I will make sure that person doesn't see the front. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a huge part of it. And it's about like looking for a gap wherever it's going to be and knowing when your deadline is. So there's two ways to get out of being boxed in. One is to try and find a gap and push your way through. And that kind of just means like getting your front wheel in that gap and just like committing to it. And the other one is to drop back and come around. And that one is like foolproof. Like if you're slowing down, you can definitely get out of it, but you lose so much momentum. So it's not ideal. So for me, it's about, I will try and find a space, try and find a gap until I reach this point in the track with this much of the race to go. And then I have to drop back and come around, and that will leave me enough time to do that. But it's not ideal. You burn way more energy doing it like that. So yeah, getting boxed in is challenging, and keeping an eye out behind you while you're racing to see when that's happening is, yeah, it's a huge tactical part of it.
I grew up in a time, well, I mean, Australian sport's always been pretty strong, but I remember, the Socceroos made the World Cup for the first time in decades, I think, in 2006, and the Commonwealth Games were on in 2006. So, yeah, and I come from a pretty sporting mad family, so I was always, watching Aussie rules and stuff like that. So I always really liked the idea of becoming an athlete. I didn't really know what sport that would be until probably 2012. There was a Road to Rio camp for aspiring Paralympians, and it was held during the London Paralympic Games. So it was just such a cool buzz. Like we got to watch it live each night, and yeah, it was just really cool. And being called Road to Rio, it's just straight in your head that, for my first run as a runner, Rio and Tokyo were always in my mind. So probably that was the first moment where specifically it was about running. But yeah, how about you?
I love that. I kind of got thrown into it pretty quick. I filled a spot on the relay team in Beijing, and so I don't think I had much time to think about the direction it was going. It was kind of just like grabbing onto an opportunity with both hands. But in Beijing was this kind of cool moment that at the time I don't think I realized was a pivotal moment, but as I look back on it, like it was. And there's this woman, Chantal Petitclerc, and she's a Canadian athlete, and she was Louise's biggest rival in 2000 and 2004. And she in Beijing, she retired, right after those games on 5 gold medals and I think 3 world records. Like she was just an unreal athlete, and she was, in the races that I was in, we were in call rooms together. We bookended the 100-meter final. She won it, and I was dead last. So she was this woman who was everything that I think I wanted to be. And after one of her medal ceremonies, on the warm-up track, we all have our tents set up, and to get to the Canadian tent, she had to walk by the Australian tent, and she walked by after her medal presentation with her medal and her bouquet of flowers, and she walked by the Australian tent and then doubled back and gave me her bouquet of flowers and kind of said, these are for you until you get your own. And I don't think I realized at the time, like, the impact that we can all have as individuals on someone. And I think someone as incredible and this powerful athlete as she was, seeing this in like 14-year-old me, I think really changed how I thought about it. And I think, I knew that I could really take it somewhere. So yeah, that was probably the big moment for me.
Yeah, and that's super special, those kind of moments, especially when it's, such a legend of the sport kind of thing. Yeah, that stuff's really cool. Yeah, I really enjoy my writing. It's one of the things that I am studying at uni, and where it will go, I have no idea. Whether it will be sport or not, that's up to just where life will take me. But what I really do have a passion for is telling stories. So in sport, especially, I've found in, especially our Paralympic team, there's some pretty incredible stories. So that stuff, getting down to the nitty gritty of life and what it can, provide some people in terms of stories. Yeah, I just like to tell that. So where that will take me, I have no idea.
That's cool. I love that. What are you studying at uni?
I'm doing an arts degree. I'm doing writing, and to a lot of
Mhm.
people's horror, politics as well. So,
I
um,
love it.
yeah. What about you? What are you doing in terms of study?
Yeah, I'm studying through Griffith University, so up in Queensland, so it's all online, and I'm getting my business degree. And as soon as the postponement announcement came, I got a call from the sports college basically being like, do you want to use this opportunity to, like, double up on uni work? And so I said yes, but we're already a month into the trimester. So I've been playing
Oh
catch
no.
up for the last month. So, but yeah, politics and writing suits you. I like that.
Yeah, it's funny as well. I found this postponement, the doubling up on work. I will be able to not have to defer next semester. Mine's not
That's
online,
so
so
good.
yeah, this will probably fast track my undergrad finishing 2 years by 2 years. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'll
that's
finish way
awesome.
earlier.
That's so
That's a
good.
positive. That's a positive.
Yeah. Do you find uni is like a good balance? Like, I know for me, I find that, like, if I'm getting overwhelmed with sport, which is like every day, I
Yeah,
find uni because it's so different. And same for you, like writing and politics is so different from sport. And for me, business is so different from it. Like, it's something to kind of like force you to unwind while still being quite proactive.
yeah. I love the balance. I love the fact that I don't know. It's just two different parts of myself as well. Like my passion for those two things is probably just as much as my sport. So to be able to kind of go between the two, because both can be quite overwhelming. And
Mm.
yeah, I find that they complement each other in different ways.
So basically, run me through
Yeah,
like your week. Like, I don't really care about your day-to-day training. Like, what does your week look
yeah.
like? Um,
Okay, my week, Monday, 10K, 6K, and a gym session. They're just easy runs, those ones. Tuesday is 8K and a session in the afternoon. So a session is 5K warm up and cool down, and something like 16 400 meters with, I think it's like 45 seconds break. That's like a staple philo session. And then
Brutal.
Wednesday 16K. Thursday is similar to Tuesday, 8K in session. Friday is can be a rest day or like 10K and gym. Saturday is a session, probably a bit longer. That's where we usually do like fartlek training or hills. And Sunday, 25K usually, but at the moment, philo is giving us between 30 and 32. So, yeah,
Yikes.
so that it changes. So about 150K a week at the moment, although it can dip
Mhm.
quite a lot lower. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite kind of session?
Yeah, I'm quite good at speed ones, but I really enjoy the longer ones. Like I see myself running marathons probably sooner than some people think. Now I've said that public.
I'm super
So
biased, but that is really exciting.
yeah, no, exactly that. I just like that idea of it, the how hard it is and the history of it and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the longer stuff is what I enjoy. But yeah, I'd love to hear what your week entails. I've never actually ever really had the opportunity to ask all these questions, so I'm really excited.
I would just love to see you on the marathon circuit with us. So yeah, my week is usually made up of six or seven chair sessions and about three gym sessions. And the three gym sessions are broken up into basically two volume sessions and one heavy session. The volume basically complements the race chair a little bit more. And we only really do the strength session to kind of like support the body when we're in the race chair. So I think the race chair is very singular in the sort of muscles that it uses. It's a lot of internal rotation and it's a lot of yeah, using the same things. And so the smaller muscle groups kind of like need to support those movements. And so the heavy session is only to complement that. And so once we reach a certain point, we don't really try and keep getting stronger. It's a maintenance piece. And the race chair sessions are they kind of vary. We do a lot of stuff out on the roads, and so those sessions I'll have a cyclist with me, often Lou, on the bike, or we have a couple of the cyclists who'll come out and work with us. Some stuff on the track, but depending when in the year. I only really race track twice a year, so sort of we have one big international event in the middle of the year, and then whenever games or com games or worlds are, and so we only really jump on the track as we sharpening up for those kinds of things. And then we've been starting to do a fair bit more indoors than we used to do. So we have two kinds of stationary tools that we train on: the rollers and the treadmill. The rollers we will often put in the climate chamber. So that's when we'll train at like heat and altitude and humidity. I'm sure you're familiar with that
Yeah.
one. And yeah, and so we'll do big blocks of work in that. We've been using it a lot more leading into, because we've had worlds in Doha, Dubai, and obviously Tokyo, for Paralympics. So, you know, it's great for like weather stuff, but also just obviously the other benefits of it. And then more recently, we've started using the treadmill, which has been an amazing training tool where you can kind of program the elevation to very specific marathon courses. And so in Sydney, it's hard finding, you know, safe roads to train hills on, or, you know, very specific things. I think Sydney has like a lot of hills, but not the ones that we like, you know, looking for. Whereas on the treadmill, we've started programming very specific parts of different marathon courses. And so leading into Boston Marathon, for example, I had never done it before. And so we kind of tried to find the most challenging part of the marathon course. It was a 10-kilometer stretch we kind of settled on, and basically just trained it over and over again. And so Lou, who was with me for all these sessions, she's won that race so many times, and that was her favorite marathon. And so as we're getting through this 10-kilometer stretch, she's basically telling me what to visualize. She's like, at this point there's a fire station, at this point there's this, you're going to feel like this at this point. And so when I came around to doing it for the first time, I was so familiar with the course, which I wasn't expecting, because I had the physical aspect of, but also like Lou's like visual kind of aid going on. So yeah, they're the sort of different sessions that we do.
That is so cool. Yeah, I think this question should be for you, more so. But no, I think as Paralympic athletes of any level, we're some kind of role models, and I think that's something that I like to embrace, because I'm a big believer in that sport can, you know, change a lot of things in the world and can be a big, you know, drive for change. So to be able to be in a position where I can use my sport to hopefully make some kind of an impact. I'm still very early in my career, so whether I don't know how that will end up happening, but yeah, I think it doesn't burden me at all, because I enjoy it. And I think, you know, just from being a part of our team, you know, the Paralympic team, like we just, I don't know, it just makes you, it's like the best of like people. I don't know, some of the people I've met are just so incredible. And
Mm-hmm.
like my main passion is just to get those stories and to into the mainstream, which it is becoming more and more into the mainstream. But I just want to like for people to realize that, and also know the history, the people that, you know, came before us that weren't, you know, that had less media coverage, unfortunately, but you know, they still competed at Paralympic Games and won gold medals. So at the moment, within sport itself, within our little community, that's kind of my passion, is just continuing to help the movement get out into like the more into the open, which you guys and the people before us have paved the way for us to do, which is pretty cool. What about you though?
I
This
love
question
that.
is for you.
I love that, and I love hearing you talk about that. I feel like there's I think it takes a very specific kind of person to really want to embrace everything that sport is. I think we all do sport quite selfishly because like we love it and, you know, want to improve ourselves and stuff, but then to kind of use that platform to do something so much bigger. And I love seeing you specifically actually kind of grabbing hold of that and using that platform to really make a huge difference. And I think using your platform to then amplify other voices, I've seen you do a lot and do it very, very faithfully. I think it's so easy in sport to get caught up in, because we're taught to be selfish. Do you know what I mean? You have to,
Yeah,
that's a big
yeah,
part of the game. And so I think to step away from that, step outside of ourselves and really use that to push someone else's narrative and the bigger picture is a really challenging thing to be able to do. It's a full 180 of what we're taught to do in sport, but I love seeing you do it, and you're doing it with writing, and you're doing it with pushing for, you know, a para category in world cross. Like, you know, I think using your platform to try and make huge changes is huge, and I love seeing you do that. And I think the confidence with which you do it. I think a lot of us, when you belong to any kind of minority group, and obviously disability is one of them, it's hard to feel confident in your voice because you're told so often like that it is not as important. So I think watching you just like grab hold of it with both hands, ignoring kind of all that external and pushing this narrative is so exciting to see. And it feels nice knowing that it's so many of us doing it. Do you know what I mean? That burden isn't falling on just a handful of people. I love seeing, all of us pushing that, and you're one of the, I think, ones at the front of that. So I think the sport is in very good hands, I think, and that's exciting.
No, I as you said though, the team effort, like just knowing that, yeah, like the person next to you in the team, like just the whole team together, like, we generally believe in the same thing. And so,
Yeah.
I just, yeah, it makes me feel really happy.
I love it. I love it. Just on that one though, I think one of my favorite things about our Paralympic team is that kind of, I guess, unison around that issue. I think we get asked a lot, like, what is it about Paralympians that are so inspiring? And the go-to answer is like something to do with disability. And it kills me because I think we have this group of people that have been, I guess, forced to use their voice for a much bigger thing. And it's a group of people who are so inspiring because every single one of us has really grabbed onto that and pushed that narrative. And yeah, you guys are just a second family to me, and I feel so privileged to be a part of our team. I love you guys so much.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is a big family. That's the best part about it. That's why, that's nearly, with it being postponed, we have to wait another year, before we can all come together. All the sports too. Like that's one of the special parts about a Paralympic Games, I reckon, as well.
Not different sets of tires. I will run different sets of tires for the road versus the track. The track, I use very, very light ones that basically will puncture as soon as they even see the road. And then on the road, a much heavier duty one, and I train on the heavier duty ones too. But in the rain, the big difference we have is our contact point on the glove and the push rim, they're both rubber. So as soon as it starts to rain, you get like a very slippery surface that you're trying to deal with. So we use different kinds of Clister is a big one, like handball Clister. The spray kind of helps create like a tacky sort of surface, and then a thicker kind as well. There's other options. I know a lot of other wheelchair racers will use sandpaper on their gloves and the rubber on the push rim, or something like suede. It's all very independent, and it depends on how you push a race jet, what your own personal style is, glove shape, all those kinds of things. So yeah, my personal one is the rubber glove and push rim with just both kinds of Clister. That was a underwhelming question to finish on.
No, I find it very interesting actually. Just there's so much to it. It's so much more. There's so much more to think about than just running. I think it's cool.
Right. Yeah. Again, like I was saying, like I love the different intricacies of all our different events and sports. Yeah. Do you want to say anything to close this off?
I suppose. Yeah, just to everyone out there that's, obviously this is a really crazy time for everyone, pretty unprecedented in our lifetime. So just to keep staying as happy as possible, and to know that one day we'll all be able to come back together again, and we'll be able to race again, and compete for our clubs, and for us, compete for Australia, and hopefully go to Tokyo. Like that will happen. We've just got to get through this period in time, and be good to go soon.
Yeah, I'm gonna basically back up what you're saying. I think everyone out there, sport, not sport, be gentle to yourself right now. I think we need to be okay with the fact that our idea of 100% has changed right now. If we hold ourselves to the same standard we were holding ourselves to 2 months ago, that's not fair on us. So I think, yeah, be okay with the fact that your 100% has changed, and celebrate the new 100% as you would, what you were doing a couple months ago. But yeah, be gentle on yourself, others, and everyone stay safe out there.
Yeah, definitely. And keep checking in on each other as well. Keep asking if everyone's okay.